Am I the arsehole for lying about being pregnant? Story time. When I was younger, I used to do absolutely everything with my cousin. Amy was my best friend. And it was really, really cute up until we hit about like our teens. This is when it became a little bit competitive. She used to tell our grandparents that she thought that she was better than me, which I always used to find so odd. My mum always encouraged me to be the bigger person, not bring it up and just to let it go. But at the end of the day, that was just never going to be enough for me. But last year, my fiance Steve proposed to me. Obviously, I was absolutely overjoyed and told all of my family as soon as I could. And for some reason, she seemed kind of upset. Didn't even seem bothered that I told her. 3 weeks later, I found out that Amy is now engaged. Isn't that interesting? And she was trying to plan her wedding for as soon as possible. Looking like next month type of soon. But eventually she gave up trying to plan this wedding super quick. So recently I saw my mum and she told me that my cousin had decided on a date for her wedding. It was the same day we had booked ours for, and we sent our save the dates out months ago. So at this point I thought, you know, we're both adults, I'll just speak to her, almost call her out. Okay, Amy, like, why are you acting like such a weirdo and choosing the same date as my wedding? This, I'm not gonna say it, girl had the absolute audacity of telling me to stop being jealous and that it was all just a coincidence. I said, what was I jealous of? Like, oh, you're jealous that I have what you don't have. Girl, everything you have is what I have. That's the whole situation here. I have it first. At this point, I was fed up. I tried to tell my family what had been happening for years because they were just completely blindsided to it. I decided that I was going to catch her in the act, right? I decided it was time to bring out the big guns. So I told her that I was, in fact, pregnant. Preggers, up the duff, one in the oven. Any other words for pregnant? A mother-to-be. And what would you know? 2 weeks later, she also announced that she was pregnant. Hun was fertile. But throughout my fake pregnancy and Amy's real pregnancy, Amy's boyfriend would text me constantly and ask me what I was getting for our baby. So I decided to play a little game. I made an Amazon wish list of the most expensive and unnecessary things that I could buy. He would be like, wow, that's actually really expensive. And I was like, yeah, but you know, we're getting it for our baby because she just deserves the best. In all honesty, I was just doing it for a reaction. Apparently after this, he went and bought everything and spent about £700. So the day after that, Amy texted me and was like, can we go baby shopping together? I've heard you've been talking to my husband. Firstly, husband. Girl, honestly, I couldn't be asked to go shopping with her. So that was when I told her that I wasn't in fact pregnant. I said mine was a false positive, but I'm so happy for you that you get to go through all of this and have your baby. And he calls me and is telling me that I tricked him and I was a mean person. But then I asked why that would matter since his partner was pregnant. He hung up on me. That's a little bit rude, Steve. So again, I spoke to my auntie, aka Amy's mom. I was really confused with Steve's tension with me, only to find out that Amy wasn't actually pregnant. My aunt then had to go around the whole family and tell everyone that her daughter wasn't actually pregnant. And now some of the family think I was in the right here, but some of them think that I am in the wrong because I've now broken up a relationship. So what do you think? Am I in the wrong here?
Post this video to remind you guys the life lesson of finder keepers, losers weepers does not apply to people's personal property. I kind of have a crazy story. Actually not that crazy, that's kind of dramatic. But today when we were having like our welcome party at our new house, we had like all of our friends over, some family over, and we did like a swim party. And I went to Costco, as one does when you're having a pool party. You have to get Costco pizzas, like 5 pepperoni pizzas. That detail literally does not matter, but I have to give every detail when I tell a story. I go to pay for this, and obviously when you go into Costco, you're bringing your whole wallet. You're usually doing that everywhere, but Costco's not really an Apple Pay place to me. It's like a Costco card, credit card, whatever. So I pay for the pizzas, get out to my car. I'm carrying 5 pizzas, no purse. So I'm juggling my keys, my wallet, not even realizing that my wallet falls off of the box. And I actually didn't even realize until 2 days later. Where's my wallet? I'm looking everywhere. I rip apart my car at least 5 times. That is not even being dramatic. Rip apart my house. I'm looking in my bedside drawer. I'm looking in our junk drawer. I'm looking in Brady's car. I'm looking in all the places. I even went back to our house during demo to like make sure it wasn't there. And I was about to drive back to Costco to go literally search the parking lot. At this point, Brady was like, your wallet's gone. Like, you need to just cancel all the cards and get a new wallet. But I had checked and none of our cards were getting charged. So I was like, forgot to add that I did call Costco. I called Costco, I called my gym, like I called multiple places that I'm a regular at because I was like, maybe I set down the wallet. Knew the last place I had seen it was Costco. The first time I finally called was yesterday, and the girl was like, no, we don't have it. I'm so sorry, like nothing matches that description. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? Leave out of town on Friday, and then we're gone pretty much the whole month of June. So I was like, me not having my wallet is going to be a problem. And again, every day I'm checking to make sure that nobody's charging the cards and nobody's charging them besides me on Apple Pay and Brady. So I'm like, whew, okay, like we're good. Then after I got gas with Trig today, I was like, okay, maybe I should call Costco one more time. They're probably gonna get really annoyed with me, but I'll just call one more time. And I was about to drive there and search the parking lot for real because I ripped apart my car again at the gas station. And guess what? He's like, oh yeah, someone made a note saying that they dropped your wallet off at the police department. Look what I got back though, and this was a goose chase in and of itself to find because I
had to call Costco. Costco told me it was at the police department. I went to the police department. The police department told me that they didn't have it. Then I walked back to my car, called Costco again, and then Costco proceeded to call all of their 4 managers to see who wrote the note. And they called her. She said that it was definitely at the police department. It got dropped off there like a couple days ago, and I finally called the police department back again. They made me make an appointment, and I went and got my wallet.
So all of this goes to say it's not finders keepers, losers weepers. Just be a good person. I am so incredibly grateful to whoever turned this in. If you're watching this, you're probably not, but I love you. I owe you big time. Don't think there was any cash in my wallet, and if there was, there's definitely not now, but I forgive you. Even if you did take the cash out of here, honestly, at this point, I wouldn't have even been mad. I'm just kidding. I genuinely think that I didn't have any cash in here. But what are the odds? Like, what are the odds that someone found it in a parking lot and didn't freaking steal this thing? I feel like that never happens anymore. So if you ever find something that you're like, this is not mine and this could be of value to someone, just go turn it in.
2 years ago this month, I represented myself in court against my landlord. Now, why am I sharing this story? Well, I'm so sick and tired of people just dealing with things just because they are the way they are when it comes to bad apartments and or landlords. Without further ado, how I dragged my landlord to court, and you should too. 'Twas October of 2021, and I got a job offer to move out to New York City, and after looking at literally 40 apartments, I ended up picking the one that I ended up living in. So I ended up packing my entire life in Chicago, moving out to New York City, and then handing over the property manager what felt like my entire life in the form of first month's rent and a security deposit. And the problems began day one. While I was moving all of my stuff into my new apartment, I noticed that one of the windows was open in the living room, and I thought that was kind of weird, so I shut the window, and about 10 minutes later, all of the floorboards next to the window skyrocketed, and I had a mini half pipe in my living room. So I called my superintendent and asked him if he could come over and fix it and just tell me why that happened, and then he blamed me because I was not supposed to close that window. I'm like, great, I guess I'll have to keep the window open, and then Laverne showed up. Laverne was the extra large cockroach that decided to perch itself inside of my living room windowsill. Up until that point, I had never encountered a cockroach, and well, a new fear was unlocked. Thank God Laverne had left and I was able to shut the window, but y'all, it keeps getting better. I encountered a very familiar sound that every New Yorker has practically heard, and I had not at that point, and it's called the steam pipes banging. And these steam pipes banged every single hour all throughout the day, including the night. No, that is not normal. The boiler is malfunctioning, and your landlord needs to fix it, but it's super freaking expensive, and that's why they don't fix them, and that's why it's a very common sound in New York apartments. But funny enough, the steam pipes would bang so freaking loud and so intensely that paint started falling from the ceiling. And then all of the walls started cracking next to the steam pipes. And then mold started forming on the wood next to the steam pipes because there was so much, steam. And then it started getting really cold and I found out my windows were not properly insulated, so your girl was frozen. And I wish I was joking, this was all within 1 month. And throughout all of this, I was calling my superintendent, trying to figure out what was going on, and he didn't answer a single one of my phone calls. Yeah, it turns out he was fired, and my building did not replace him with a new superintendent. At this point, I was so freaking lost and had no idea what was going on, so I ended up finding a resource that gives you free legal advice on what to do in your housing crisis, and they gave me a bunch of directions, and I started following them. So then I ended up filing a report with the Housing Preservation Department. Then an inspector came out, and the inspector was like, yeah, this is not a livable apartment. And then I started withholding my rent. I truly thought, surely because I'm withholding my rent, I would get someone's attention, but nope, I did not. They had no idea I wasn't paying rent for 5 months. And I wish I was joking. The problems were not resolved within the 5 months. I ended up getting a letter slapped on my door saying I'd be evicted if I didn't pay my rent. You best believe I was freaking out at this point. But I know I was totally within my legal right to do so. So I tried calling the property manager, tried calling the building that my landlord was in, tried calling my landlord themselves. No one was picking up their phones. Didn't even have an email. Couldn't even contact these people. So then I ended up marching my way down to the housing court in New York City, filing a summons of complaint against my landlord, and then getting assigned a court date. And the court date was in April. It was March at this point. All of this just seems like a fever dream looking back. I think I was hallucinating for most of it because I was so freaking exhausted from not being able to sleep in my own apartment, plus the stress of going to court as a punk 23-year-old. Oh my god, no, I would not wish this on anyone. But y'all, it had to be done in the name of justice. Y'all and I showed up to housing court with about a binder of evidence of pictures and phone records and emails and everything that I could in order to prove my innocence. And guess what? My landlord was not there. So the judge looks at me and asks me to provide proof that I actually sent the summons of complaint, so I showed them the certified mail receipt, and she cross-checked the address that I sent it to, and I did everything right. And somehow this judge went into her little computer and found the dude's phone number that I never had and was like, yo, you're supposed to be in court. And he was very confused. About 5 minutes later, his attorney shows up on a Zoom call. The attorney goes, yeah, I had no idea about any of this. So then she has to reschedule everything to a later court date, and I had to go back to court in May. Fast forward a few weeks later, I show up in a power suit. I have my same binder of evidence. And again, my landlord is not there. His attorney was on Zoom. He didn't even show up. So of course, the judge asks me if I had any evidence to prove that this apartment was indeed uninhabitable and why I wasn't paying my rent. And I said yes. Gave the binder to the officer gave it to her, and she goes, it's not looking good for you, counsel. And it felt so good. It was just like, yes, point one for the good guy. After all said and done, the judge ordered a mediation between me and my landlord, so tried calling the guy, and of course he was not answering me. And of course, in between the two court dates, their management team showed up to make all of the repairs that were needed. But wait, there's more. When I was taking a shower one morning in between the two court dates, the pipes in my bath exploded, and I ended up accidentally flooding the apartments below mine. I tried exhausting all of my communication options, and I even showed up to his office. Of course, he was not there. And fast forward 2 weeks, I get a phone call from my brother asking why we're being sued. So my brother was a co-signer on this apartment. He had never even seen the inside of the apartment. He just signed because I didn't make the 40 times rent requirement. And so his phone number was on the lease, and that's why my landlord was able to get in touch with him. He did not want to go through me. So of course my brother was freaking out and sent me the phone number of the landlord, and I immediately called him back. Of course, he was the meanest human you have ever spoken to in your entire life. This dude couldn't care less if I was dead or alive. He just wanted his money, and I was not about to hand it over to him. After negotiating and chatting, and of course getting this in writing, I only owed about half of the rent that I owed for the 6 months that I was living there in hell. Before anyone tells me, could I have asked for more? Absolutely. But when it's 6 months of suffering, you kind of are over it and want to be done with suffering. Before anyone else says, well, you probably could have gotten even more if you went through an attorney, well, I would have had to owe that attorney money anyway, so it kind of all equals out. So what is the moral of the story? Number 1, know your frickin' rights, not only as a tenant, but as a human in general. Number 2, stock up on any evidence that you can get, even if it's not even a legal situation. And number 3, never succumb to the idea that this is just how things are and you should live in a horrible situation and you should deal with a crappy landlord. And number 4, kind of on an unrelated note, you actually don't have to show up in business professional to housing court. You could show up in jeans and a t-shirt. I was literally the only one that was in a suit. And number 5, you can represent yourself in court. You don't even need an attorney, but obviously proceed with caution. And I hope that this horrible story that I pray that no one ever has to go through themselves inspires people to fend for themselves in the name of justice. Carry on.
You've heard who the hell did I marry, but have you heard who the hell's birth certificate did I sign? Because boy, do I have a story time for you. Yeah, I have a story time for you, and I've been waiting months to tell this one, but I just got word from my brother that I'm allowed to talk about it a couple weeks ago, and now it's on. It's on like white on rice, baby. Eventually, when my podcast is back on, I will have him on the podcast to tell his side of the story, but for right now, I'm going to tell my side of the story because I had to be involved and subjected to this bullshit. So here's my side of the story. One day, I get a call from my brother, about a year ago, actually, at this point, and he says, "Oh no, sis. Oh no, I think I might have got somebody pregnant." And I said, "Shaquan, what the fuck do you mean? What are you talking about? Because I get this call biannually. You know what I mean? Like, I get this call about biannually. This man, he is notorious for letting me know that he might have, quote unquote, gotten someone pregnant. He never has. He never has got no one pregnant. A little paranoid. So I get this call about biannually, but I get it this time. And this time felt really real. This time felt scary real. For some reason, I felt the need to give him some advice this time, which normally I just tell him to shut the hell up because he probably didn't. I don't hear much from him after that because Shaquan likes to go on these little spurts of MIA-ness where I hear from him 0%, and then I hear from him randomly on one of our birthdays that we have to do something crazy like bail my mom out of jail or go pick up a crazy lady from a different city. I don't know. So I don't hear much about this for a few months until a few months rolls by and he tells me, oh, sis, you know, I think that, I think that she's that's my baby. I think she definitely is pregnant with my kid. And I'm like, Shaquan, okay, what do you mean? First of all, how do you know? And has this girl been like, you know, sleeping around with other people? Because I just feel like she probably has been if she was sleeping with you. I just feel like she probably has been sleeping with other people because she probably knows that you don't take people seriously. So, question being, are you sure it's yours? Because I would very rarely ask this of anyone because I feel like I always trust the woman. But with Shaquan and the group of people he enjoys sleeping with, I have to ask the question, are you sure? And so for a fact, I do ask that question. And he says, well, there was a few other people, but she's saying timeline wise, it has to be me. And I trust her, man. I trust her because, you know, she wouldn't really seem like she would lie about this because she's not even really asking me to step up. I'm going to step up, you know, because Shaquan is a good guy. When all things push to come to shove, Shaquan's going to be a good guy. And he's going to step up for this child. So I'm like, all right. So if this is your baby, I'm about to buy mad shit. I'm excited. I'm going to be an auntie again. I'm really excited for this. When is she due? And he said, oh, she's due in like a month. So clock is ticking at this point. We're like, okay. And one day I get a call from Shaquan at midnight and I don't answer. So I call him back in the morning and I'm like, oh God, what's this going to be? He answers the phone and there's a baby in his arms. What? He's like, sis, I really want you to come down and meet this baby. So I'm kind of like, what are our other friends thinking? You know, what are my other friends thinking? So I call up my other friends because we have like a group of people. Shaquan is notorious for just like dumb shit. Just dumb shit. You know, call up my other friends and they're like, we really don't think this is his. There's no proof yet. And this girl is saying she's going to do a paternity test, but it's just weird. Something weird about it. And so I call him back and I'm like, I'll come down and meet that baby. Don't you worry. I'll come down and meet that baby. And I want to meet the baby mom too. A lot of people were feeling kind of negatively toward this. They were like, that's definitely not his kid. And I could notice he was getting frustrated by this. So I tried to be as positive as possible, even though I have my own doubts. So I go down there and I meet this damn baby and I hold it, or I don't even think I got to hold it. It was in the NICU because it came a little bit early. So I just had to stand near it and love on it and rub its little toes. And then we sat there while he held it and I cried with him because what? My brother's about to be a dad? Like, what is happening? But we're all still curious as to if this is actually his kid. We're not sure. The paternity test hasn't been done, anything like that. The girl's kind of putting it off and we're just starting to get a little bit weary about it. So the baby mom says that she's doing this paternity test. She needs to swab both their mouths with a Q-tip. And he's trusting this and whatever. And she says that she's going to take this paternity test swabs to CVS or to one of these pharmacies and they're going to authenticate for it and they're going to tell him if he's a dad or not. If you know anything about paternity tests, that's not how it happens. Not how it happened. It takes about a week and a half, maybe even 2, to get your results back. Sometimes longer than that. Yeah. Anyways, he trusts it and doesn't really tell me that this is what's happening. And he does it. He does a little swab in his cheek. And then her sister takes this swab down to whatever pharmacy or lab and has it confirmed within an hour. Within an hour, we find out Shaquan is the dad of this baby for sure. If you know anything about paternity tests, it doesn't come back within an hour. He comes over to me and Ayana and he's like, dude, I don't think this is real. Because she sent back this paper that like just looked fake. It just looked, for some reason to him, fake. To me and Ayana, we were like, this is real? You're actually the dad? We don't know anything about paternity tests. So we're like, yeah. No. We start Googling the doctors that signed off on this paternity test. They're on a template for colleges to use for documents, to learn about documents. They are fake doctors. They are not real. She paid a company to send over a fake paternity test. Well, his dumbass, without letting us know, because he said he was just going back down to the hospital to help her with something. He went back down to the hospital because she was pressing him to sign this birth certificate, and he signed the birth certificate. He signed the motherfucking birth certificate. Her crazy ass sent him over a fake paternity test to force him to sign the birth certificate. That baby did not look like Shaquan either. So me and him, CSI agent, over to CVS, and we get one of those like boxed paternity tests, even though that's not going to help him at all because they really don't hold up in court. They have to get court ordered, but it is a good reason to go to court and say this wasn't my kid. Yeah. As we get this paternity test and we sneak over to the hospital, mind you, he had already signed the birth certificate. The girl is acting kind of weird. She's acting kind of suspicious, a little bit weird, but she was ready to go. Her mom was going to take her home while the baby sat in the NICU because the baby needed to be there for a couple more days or a couple more weeks. And she calls us while we get there. We get to the hospital with this paternity test and we're hiding in the parking lot and we're like, oh my God, we have to go in there when she's already gone because she doesn't have any clue that we're in doubt of this being his kid and she thinks she got one over on him. Now we're like, you sent a fake paternity test. You know something we don't know. You know this is not his kid, and you know you are doing one over on him. You know? So we sneak into the hospital, and we go up to the NICU, and he tries to convince the people at the NICU that I'm the mother so that I could go in there and help him with the paternity test. They knew right away that it was not the case, and I wasn't trying to do that anyway, so they had me sit down. He calls me on FaceTime and has me walk him through doing this paternity test. We do it. We swab a cheek. We do da-da-da, and we send over the paternity test. But the birth certificate's already signed. You know what I mean? So it's really a tough sticky stitch. About a week goes by. I hear back from Shaquan. A little video. In fact, I get a video of him doing the results like Maury in a living room. Shaquan, you are not the father. 0% chance, in fact. Kind of like everyone was telling him not to sign the birth certificate before he got that paternity test back. But you know, but not only did he have me meet this child that was not his and get all excited for him to be a dad, but he had me sneak up into that hospital after that lady was gone. We had to CSI agent up in that parking lot until we saw her leave. We parked across from her. We leaned our seats back so that we could see when she left. We watched her leave. And then when she left, we snuck up in that hospital and we took that baby swab and then we sent it in. Mind you, this is completely fine because at this point, he is legally this baby's father. So he is allowed to do a paternity test. But we knew she would be weird about it because we knew she was feeling guilty and we knew she was going to try to pull like that was weird or that she was mad about that. You could be mad all you want, but he's legally that baby's father. Now they're going to court about this child, and she's all over social media talking about that he's a deadbeat, but he's not a deadbeat. That's not his child. I swear to God, every time I hang out with Shaquan, it's some other bullshit. So, yeah.
My For You page is filled with like how horrible Hinge dating is. So in honor of that, I'm gonna tell the story times of just like the weirdest men I've met on Hinge. So this first guy, we're gonna call him Mr. Broke fucking bitch of a man. No, we're gonna call him Bitch. So Bitch and we matched on Hinge and then we started texting. Okay, let's go to dinner. We go to dinner. This was the first time I ever met anyone on Hinge. Vibes are good at dinner. I'm like actually enjoying the conversation with this man. He's slightly love bombing me, which I love. Like back in the day, I really did. Okay, I still like being a little bit love bombed. Anyways, we're having a good fucking time. My birthday was in a week. I'm so excited. I'm telling him about everything. He's a nice guy. I'm like, oh, you know what? I found a good fucker. Like, I found a good one. Proves my point a little bit further. My birthday rolls around. This man drops off a bottle of champagne in the most gorgeous roses I've ever seen. Oh my God, this man is such a catch. Like, this man is such a fucking catch. About time for our third date. And this man starts being like, no, you have to plan the date. Like, you have to take me out. I dead ass thought this man was kidding. I was like, okay, no, I'll plan the date. Like, you've planned a lot of dates. Like, I'll plan the date. Should have never done that. Should have never done that, Livy. He was like, no, you're gonna take me out. Like, I want to be wined and dined. What the fuck? What the fuck? When did this man turn into the littlest bitch in the world? I didn't know I became lesbian and started dating a woman and I had to be in my fucking masculine energy. When did that start happening? I don't know if I'm just delusional or dumb. I was like, oh, he's just like joking around. Like, he'll have me plan the date, but he's not gonna make me pay for the date. That'd be fucking crazy. I show up to that date. That man is telling the server, he's like, oh, I'm gonna ball out tonight. Livy's paying. Okay, that's embarrassing. Even if I was like okay with paying, don't fucking like tell the server like, oh, she's paying, I'm gonna spend all her money. Fucking weird. You're fucking weird. At this point of the date, I'm like, okay, no, this man is like fully gonna make me pay. Like, this man is going to make me fucking pay. If you're watching this like, oh my God, yeah, you should pay. No, go fuck yourself. I'm sorry, that was the third date. I'm the prize here, bitch. Like, if I am dating someone, sure, I'll pick up a fucking dinner here and there, okay? The third date, I barely know this man. We're not even that fucking close. Cool, you got me champagne and roses for my birthday. Who the fuck doesn't, okay? What? I'm broke as hell at this point in my life, but I'm like, you know what? If I'm gonna pay like a fucking boss. I was a server at the time. When the bill came in, he was like sliding it towards me. I pull out hundreds. I'm like, you know what? No, if I'm gonna pay like a fucking boss. I'm like counting my hundreds. I'm like, 1, 2. I put $200 down. This man takes the $200, takes it for him motherfucking self, hands her his card. I think, oh, like he's gonna give the server his card and then he's just gonna like hand me the money back. Nope. This man looks me dead in the eyes and goes, I haven't seen hundreds in a while. I just want the hundreds. Took my hundreds, you weird bitch. Go to the fucking bank. Go to the bank. I remember telling this story to my friend's ex sugar daddy the day after, and this man looked at me and was like, why do you date weird men? Like, any man that asks you to pay on a date is like not a man. He's a little bitch. And I'm like, oh my God, you're so right. Honestly, that talk with that sugar daddy like really opened my eyes to a lot of things. He was like, why do you date weird men? He's like, do you want to be the breadwinner? Like, what are you doing? Why are you dating weird men? And I was like, I don't know. I thought he was fucking normal. So that's like my experience number 1 with dating a Hinge man. Real fucking weird. But I'm gonna make you bitches go to part 2. I haven't done that in a while. Part 2.
What if the key to life is understanding that you are God and God is love and we are essentially everything that is breathing in this universe? We are all mirrors of one another. This is old knowledge, but I'm going to take it a step further and say that nothing is outside of you. So what I learned is the beauty of self-concept. How I see myself is exactly what's happening in my day at all times. Now, the fake gurus on this fucking app will tell you that you can manifest $1 million tomorrow and this is about dying while still alive, giving yourself permission to be reborn into the version of yourself that is thinking on purpose. Now, thinking on purpose is a phrase that I learned from Kay Deanne. I think that's her name. I love her videos. But this isn't about manifesting material possessions or wealth. It's about walking as a version of you that's authentic, a version of you that accepts yourself no matter what, and a version of you that knows that you are creation that chose to come to this 3D to essentially go back to love, but in the physical. In other words, we're meant to experience heaven on earth. And that's the key to life, is understanding that it's your divine birthright to be happy, to have joy, to be safe, and to be comfortable with who you are. So I say all that to say, please come into yourself. Please be authentic. The world is thirsty for it. There's nobody like you. There's something you could do that I can't even fucking fathom. And that's perfect, and that's meant to be shared. The world is literally dying to see you because I'm dying to see you, and I am the world. Good luck.
Am I the astronaut for refusing to be a surrogate for my friend? I, 21 female, have known this friend 30 since I was a little girl. We'll call her Rebecca. Of course, we weren't always friends. Our relationship started because her parents are friends with mine, and she babysat me when I was little. When I was 16 and she was 26, she invited us to her wedding, and later on started coming over a lot on weekends with her husband and then kids. Somewhere along the line, she became someone I could trust, hang out frequently with her and with her family and separately. She's kind of like another big sister to me, and I adore her. Rebecca had 3 beautiful children, and I knew she was trying for another one. A few weeks ago, she asked me out for coffee and told me that due to her complications in her last pregnancy, the doctors didn't think it was safe for her to get pregnant again. I told her to let it out, hugged her, and then told her that natural childbirth isn't the only way to be a mom. There's also adoption and surrogacy. As an adoptee, I told her how I love my mom, even when we fight, and that I considered her my actual mom. She was really interested in surrogacy, though, and started looking into it. Well, last week, she and her husband invited me and my boyfriend for dinner and said they had a favor to ask us. She gave me flowers and asked me if I could be their surrogate. I didn't know what to say. And she just told me to sleep on it and give her an answer in a week. I've always wanted to be a mom ever since I was a little girl, a young mom as well. Having kids in my 20s is my dream, but the actual childbirth terrifies me. My boyfriend and I have even talked about adopting if I never feel ready to actually get pregnant. I love Rebecca, but the prospect of having a baby, having all that pregnancy experience and not being a mom, I don't think I could do it. I have the most respect for people who give up their babies or are surrogates, but I don't think I could. So today I told Rebecca I was sorry, but that I can't do it. She obviously cried, which was expected, but she also said she couldn't believe I was so selfish that I was taking away her chance of being a mom and that I was young, so those wouldn't affect me if I ever wanted to get pregnant on my own. I haven't been able to stop thinking about that and if I should just suck it up and do it. So, am I the astronaut? Top comment, NTA. First of all, she is already a mom. You have not deprived her of an opportunity at motherhood, so don't bother feeling guilty about that. Secondly, Rebecca knows firsthand what complications go along with pregnancy. She is being the selfish one, putting this on you, not the other way around. You have every right to say no for any reason. Don't forget that. And all the reasons you listed are extremely valid. Don't let her guilt you. You do not deserve it, especially considering OP wants her own children. First off, most legit clinics would not even allow her to qualify to be a carrier because she hasn't given birth before. But let's say she did it. What if this pregnancy for the friend caused her to have complications that prevented her from having her own children later?